Chosen one, something sacred is approaching, and its name is June 29th. This isn't just another square on your calendar. It's a divine delivery, a celestial key, and the moment it arrives, something locked for years, emotionally, spiritually, or even physically, is going to open. You've felt it, haven't you? The shift in the atmosphere, the weight starting to lift, the strange calm that doesn't match your current circumstances. That's because this isn't just a nice day. This is a marked day, a whispered date that heaven circled long before you knew how close you were to the turning point. Why now? Why this date? And what blessing has been waiting for this exact alignment to reach you? Before we go any further, pause. Breathe this in. You don't need to chase what's already been assigned to your name. June 29th isn't about striving. It's about stepping into what's already been settled in the unseen. To every soul who's felt forgotten, to every heart who's supported this channel through your prayers, shares, and especially through super thanks, thank you. Your kindness makes this mission possible, and your hunger for truth is the reason heaven keeps sending revelation like this. Now, if something inside of you is stirring, if a quiet part of your spirit is whispering, "Yes, this is for me," then go ahead and comment 777 below to seal your readiness. Let this not be passive information. Let it become activated prophecy, because what you're about to discover will explain why the delay had to last this long, why the doors didn't open sooner, and why, on June 29th, the blessing you've prayed for, cried over, and nearly gave up on, will finally arrive. Let's go deeper. Let's unlock the code behind this supernatural date. God's chosen ones, June 29th, will unlock the blessing you've been waiting for. You've waited for moments like this, moments that don't just lift your spirit for a fleeting second, but reconstruct the internal architecture of your soul. This isn't merely a feel-good hour. This is divine architecture unfolding. It's the blueprint of healing descending from realms beyond logic and manifesting quietly, steadily into your reality. What's happening now isn't just a gift, it's a recalibration. It touches every fragmented timeline of your life and binds them into a masterpiece that only heaven could have designed. Do you remember the times you cried in secret, thinking no one heard? The universe remembers. The God who collects every tear as evidence of your endurance remembers. And now, June 29th is no longer a date. It's a doorway. Like rainfall over parched soil, this day softens what has grown brittle within you. Not with noise, but with nurture. Not with force, but with divine frequency. How can something so quiet shake you so deeply? And why does the very air today feel charged, as if molecules themselves are being rearranged in your favor? You are not imagining this. What you're sensing is resonance. Heaven is releasing a wave designed to match the vibration of your longing. Like a piano string trembling in sympathetic harmony, your soul is reacting to a chord being played in unseen dimensions. June 29th was written with your healing in mind, and it begins not with an explosion, but with a whisper. You are safe now. The struggle is over. When Jesus stood before the tomb of Lazarus, he didn't shout for effect. He spoke from authority. Lazarus, come forth. John 11:43. And life obeyed. In the same way, today does not need to be loud to be transformational. Chosen. 1. You're not here to be entertained. You're here to be revived. You're not seeking another motivational quote. You're stepping into a shift that restores what discouragement tried to kill. There's something happening today that science might call vibrational recalibration. a reset of your mental frequencies that allows your mind and body to move in coherence again. Have you noticed that your thoughts feel lighter, that trust feels accessible again, that you're looking up more than usual? These are not just mood swings. These are signals that your alignment is being restored at a neurological, spiritual, and emotional level. Cardinal Robert Sarah, a respected voice in the Catholic Church, once said, "Silence is more powerful than the most beautiful words." Why? Because silence is where the spirit moves first. That's what you've been hearing lately. Not the absence of activity, but the whisper of something sacred setting the stage for breakthrough. Are you attuned to that silence today? Because it is filled with answers. But not everyone chooses restoration. Adolf Hitler, a former artist turned dictator, once used silence to manipulate rather than redeem. His silence in key moments led to calculated cruelty and global trauma. His story reminds us that timing and silence carry weight. What is orchestrated by heaven brings peace, but what is twisted by ego breeds chaos. You, chosen one, are now standing in the contrast. And your silence? It has not been hollow. It's been holy. Somewhere across town, a woman named Letitia stood in her small kitchen, staring at a long, unopened letter. For 7 years, she believed it contained bad news. But today, without knowing why, she opened it. Inside was the answer to a grant application she'd forgotten about. Approved. Her whole life realigned in a moment of ordinary obedience. That's what June 29th is holding for you. Unexpected clarity in places you forgot to check. You may see it in the way a child smiles at you on the street, or how a stranger holds the door just long enough for you to walk through without rushing. These aren't coincidences. They are confirmations. Today is not about thunderous miracles. It's about a kind of sacred synchronicity that makes everything feel correct. Every conversation, every glance, every still moment, divinely choreographed. Even the earth knows the rhythm of restoration. After a forest fire, certain seeds only sprout once they've endured the flame. Fire is not just destruction, it's activation. Similarly, today may not erase every scar, but it may reveal that those scars are now soft soil for new beginnings. Doesn't that explain the gentle ache you feel in your chest right now? Not pain, but release. Why do the birds seem louder today? Why does your breath feel deeper, fuller, calmer? Could it be that creation itself is celebrating your turning point? Could it be that the divine has scheduled this softness to echo through your most weary spaces? Scripture says in Isaiah 61:3, He gives beauty for ashes, the oil of joy for mourning, and a garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness. This is that exchange. You are stepping out of ashes and into architecture. The ruins of your past are not abandoned. They are being remodeled into a sanctuary. June 29th is tuned to your internal resonance. Your emotions are not unstable today. They are antennas. You are not fragile. You are finely wired to detect the shift. That's why peace feels more like a presence than a thought. That's why your body is relaxing, even without explanation, because grace has finally caught up to your pace. This is divine synchronization. You may remember something small today, a line from a poem, the melody of a song you haven't heard in years, the voice of someone you loved and lost. And in that moment, without ceremony or spotlight, your soul will exhale. Not because everything has been fixed, but because something has been touched. You won't have to chase signs today. They will come to you, in the rustle of leaves, in the warmth of sunlight, in the stillness between breaths. The universe is not yelling, it is whispering. Are you listening, chosen one? Because this day has been waiting for you long before you ever waited for it. You are not simply passing through another date. You are stepping into an atmosphere that has been divinely timed, mathematically calibrated, and spiritually magnetized to your healing. Divine timing by its very nature. resists human urgency. It doesn't rush to impress. It doesn't shout for attention. It arrives like the sunrise, unhurried, but impossible to ignore once it's here. So why do you feel so calm today? Why is your chest expanding without effort, as if something invisible has lifted the weight of yesterday? Because June 29th is not just marked on your calendar, it's marked on your destiny. This is not noise, it is nectar. It is softness as strategy. Divine timing creates margin in your soul, the psychological equivalent of an architect designing not just walls, but space for light to enter. And that's what today is doing, giving you sacred space. This is space to breathe again without bracing for disappointment, space to feel loved without questioning whether it's temporary, space to receive without defending, without apologizing, without shrinking. Has your life taught you that good things come only through struggle? That joy must be earned in blood, sweat, and striving? Because that's a lie, a cultural myth, one built by those who feared rest and worshipped productivity. Today says otherwise. Today, grace is the currency, and you've already been credited in full. When Ruth followed Naomi to Bethlehem, she wasn't chasing a plan. She was obeying a pull. She had no promise of provision, no job waiting, and yet, at just the right moment, divine timing led her to Boaz's field. A space not just of sustenance, but of future legacy. Ruth, too. Ruth stepped into divine timing, not through force, but through surrender, just like you. And just like you, she didn't know she was already walking into the answer. Could it be that the space you're feeling now, the quiet, the lightness, is not emptiness but preparation? Albert Einstein once said, "The monotony and solitude of a quiet life stimulates the creative mind." As a theoretical physicist, he understood something spiritual. Peace is not the absence of movement. It is the alignment of motion with meaning. That's what today brings. Not emptiness, but energetic equilibrium. You are no longer misfiring, you are resonating. Not everyone honors divine timing. Elizabeth Holmes, once celebrated as a revolutionary biotech entrepreneur, manipulated timing to manufacture illusions. She didn't wait for results, she forced projections, and that manufactured momentum collapsed under its own deception. Her rise was loud, but her fall was quieter and far more lasting. This is what happens when you chase timing instead of aligning with it. But that's not your story. You didn't manipulate the moment, you surrendered to it. Somewhere nearby, a young man named Xavier stood at a train station, unsure whether to board. He was supposed to visit a friend across the city, but something in his spirit whispered, "Stay." Moments later, the train he nearly boarded was delayed due to a malfunction. Instead of frustration, Xavier found himself sitting on a quiet bench where he ran into a mentor he hadn't seen in years, someone who offered him a job he'd been praying for. No resume, no striving, just presence. Divine presence. That's what today is doing, aligning seemingly random moments into a sacred algorithm of divine encounter. You may begin to notice things syncing up, like the precision of a celestial orbit. Your phone buzzes with just the right message. A cancellation opens space on your calendar. A cashier says something that confirms your silent prayer. These are not random. They are signals. Your entire field, emotional, mental, spiritual, is being magnetized into order. The animal kingdom understands this kind of flow. Monarch butterflies don't force migration. They follow an ancient map etched in their genetic code. They don't ask how. They just know when. And in doing so, they end up thousands of miles away from where they started. Safe, guided, purposeful, just like you will. Can you feel the surrender settling in your muscles? The way your shoulders drop? The way your breath slows without command? These aren't passive signs. They're proof that you've entered into the divine current. You're not swimming upstream anymore. You're moving with the river of your original design. Isaiah 30:15 says, "In quietness and trust is your strength. This strength is not violent, it is not loud, it is trust-shaped, surrender-shaped, and this day, the 29th of June, has been encoded with that kind of trust. The kind that builds bridges without noise, the kind that rearranges your life while you're simply resting." So why are the smallest details falling into place? Why do people seem softer, more present? Why does your body feel like it's finally getting instructions it understands? Because you've entered not just a new day, but a new dimension, what physicists might call a resonant field, where energy moves without friction and intention creates manifestation. You are not manipulating time today, you are marrying it. Chosen one, you've done the work of holding on. You've done the work of letting go. And now you're receiving, not as a reward, but as a result. Divine timing has reached you, and it doesn't need your effort. It only asks for your agreement. So open your hands, receive the present. It's already been wrapped in joy, and every hour it will unwrap itself, revealing the kind of peace that doesn't need explaining. As the sun arcs across June 29th, allow this day to move through you like breath, steady, unforced and sacred. Do not block what is arriving by trying to analyze it. This is not a puzzle for your intellect. This is a miracle for your spirit. Let the goodness find you without suspicion. Let joy rest on your shoulders without guilt. Let peace stretch out in your chest without interrogation. Why is it hard to accept good things without questioning their timing? Why does your mind scan for the catch, even as your soul sighs with relief? Because you've been taught that blessing must be earned through exhaustion. But that was never God's design. That was survival. Now you are stepping into revival. Gratitude is not a weak response. It's a spiritual technology. It rewires your brain, recalibrates your energy field, and prepares your neural pathways to receive without resistance. In psychological terms, gratitude increases dopamine flow and decreases cortisol, literally healing you as you say, "Thank you." So say it freely, say it fully, not as an apology for receiving, but as an affirmation that you were always meant to. This is the spiritual frequency of receptivity, and it's what allows miracles to manifest, not always through fire from heaven, but often through the quiet realignments of heart posture. When Paul and Silas praised in prison, it wasn't just worship, it was resonance. Their gratitude shook the foundation of the cell, Acts 16:25-26, and so will yours. Chains break not just through struggle, but through surrender. Could it be that your breakthrough isn't waiting for your effort, but your openness? Renowned author and Holocaust survivor Elie Wiesel once wrote, "The opposite of love is not hate, it's indifference." This day is the opposite of indifference. It cares for you. It meets you with warmth, and it will not leave you untouched. But you must stop resisting. Let your spirit say yes, even before your circumstances explain why. Not everyone allows peace to reach them. Joseph Stalin, a dictator who ruled by fear, rejected surrender and gratitude. His obsession with control destroyed millions, and yet he himself died isolated and suspicious. His legacy is a warning. When you resist divine timing and demand power over peace, you manufacture torment. But you, chosen one, are not being called to power over others. You are being called to peace within yourself. Somewhere not far from here, a woman named Serena stood alone in her backyard, cradling a cup of tea, staring at the sky. She wasn't thinking about anything profound, just watching clouds drift, letting her mind soften. And suddenly a thought returned to her, one she had buried years ago. "I'm still worth loving." No one said it aloud. It came through stillness. That moment restored her. And that's what today is. Your restoration day, your comfort day, your confirmation day. Nature understands restoration better than we do. When an injured deer lies still in a forest clearing, it doesn't panic or plan. It rests. The body activates its own systems to heal. Bone knits to bone. Cells rush to repair tissue. The deer does not strive. It trusts the blueprint coded in its being. Likewise, today invites you to activate that divine code within you. Trust it. Your design includes healing. You don't have to fix everything. You don't need to know what's next. This moment doesn't need your performance. It craves your presence. It longs for your yes. John 14:27 says, "Peace I leave with you, my peace I give you. I do not give to you as the world gives." The world offers peace with fine print, but this peace is different. It's not transactional, it's transformational. It requires no credentials, only receptivity. And today, you are being invited into that deeper current. This isn't a test. It's not a maze. It's a table already prepared. You are not being graded. You are being held. So why does the wind feel gentler today? Why does your body feel like it's finally allowed to exhale? Could it be that heaven is adjusting your internal tempo to match divine ease? You've spent enough time striving, enough time trying to prove your value by what you produce. But this day is calibrated with a new rhythm, a divine tempo. It carries breakthrough without burnout. It speaks affirmation without demand. It whispers, "Be still and know." Psalm 46:10. You are not failing because you're tired. You are finally learning that fatigue is not the same as failure, and that peace is not earned, but encountered. So let this day hold you. Let it remind you that surrender is not weakness, it is wisdom. You are being carried now, not because you cannot walk, but because the divine prefers to escort those it loves. Let the rhythm of today find you. Let the blessing of softness become your sanctuary. Let your heart rest in the truth. You are no longer waiting. You are receiving. This isn't the kind of shift that knocks everything over. It's the kind that settles everything into place. It doesn't arrive with thunder. It moves like sunlight through stained glass, soft, illuminating, undeniable. You're not being overwhelmed, you're being rewired. And the brilliance of it is this: you barely have to try, because what's happening now is effortless in its arrival, but eternal in its effect. June 29th is not a storm. It's a healing wind. You've begun to respond differently to the same tensions that used to entangle you. The muscles that once clenched at the slightest threat now remain still. The thoughts that used to race through your mind now feel like they're walking at your pace. Have you noticed that? That sudden calm when urgency tries to rise but fails to grip you. That's not passivity. That's progress. You are syncing, not just with the time of day, but with the timing of heaven. Your spiritual circadian rhythm is being restored. The inner clock, once misaligned by trauma, pressure, and worldly expectation, is now beating in sync with divine rhythm. That's why everything feels a little softer. That's why your breath feels deeper without effort. You are finally aligned with truth. Not temporary truths, but eternal ones. And no, not everyone will understand what today means. But it wasn't meant for everyone. It's not a broadcast, it's a sacred transmission, and it's marked with your name. When Moses encountered God at the burning bush, Exodus 3, no one else heard the voice. No one else saw the fire that did not consume. That moment was his alone. So is this. June 29th was not sent to impress a crowd. It was sent to speak to the one who stayed when no one was watching. You, the one who carried burdens in silence, the one who trusted in the dark. And now, this is heaven's whispered response. I saw you. I heard you. I'm blessing you. This is your dance with destiny, but not a frenzied one. It's a waltz, a sacred cadence, a choreography designed by grace. And yes, it's grace that's leading this movement. Not pressure, not expectation, not guilt, just grace. the kind that upgrades you from the inside out. Your heart isn't just feeling better, it's being renovated. Layers of insecurity are peeling off. Dust from old disappointments is being blown away. The language of your thoughts is shifting from survival to serenity. And you're not even trying to force it. That's the beauty of grace. It doesn't demand perfection. It reveals what was always there beneath the wounds. Realignment isn't just spiritual, it's cellular. Your body knows when safety has returned. That's why your breathing slows, your digestion improves, your muscles release tension. These aren't just biological flukes. They're the architecture of divine ease restoring itself in you. Renowned architect Antoni Gaudí once said, "Nothing is art if it does not come from nature, and nature never rushes." The most majestic structures in creation, coral reefs, canyons, constellations, were formed over time, not in panic. What's happening in you today is the same. You are not being thrown into greatness. You are being grown into it. But not everyone chose this path. Jeffrey Epstein, once a wealthy financier, used his access and timing not for transformation, but for manipulation. His empire collapsed not through spiritual resistance, but because no foundation of truth can support exploitation. His life is a cautionary tale. Without inner restoration, external wealth becomes a trap. The blessing of today is that you are being transformed inwardly, so nothing around you will collapse when you rise. Across the country, a man named Jordan paused before sending a resignation letter. Something in him whispered, "Wait." He didn't know why, but he obeyed. That afternoon, his boss unexpectedly announced a new leadership opportunity, one that perfectly aligned with his vision, but would have been missed had he rushed. Divine timing didn't need Jordan's striving, it only needed his trust. That's what today is asking of you, not hustle, but harmony. Look at the forests after rainfall. The leaves shine, the air settles, the roots deepen. That's you right now. Not expanding through explosion, but through hydration. Your soul is being watered, and the growth is internal before it's visible. You are being upgraded not through effort, but through exposure to divine light. The fog is lifting, not because you climbed out of it, but because light found its way in. And what once felt like confusion is now becoming confirmation. John 1:5 says, "The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it." That light is filling you now. It's not loud, but it's real. It's not dramatic, but it's deliberate. And with every passing hour of this day, you are reflecting more light, speaking with more authority, walking with more alignment. You may not feel completely different, but you are undeniably changed. Why do your thoughts feel clearer? Why does the guidance in your heart not sound like command, but invitation? Because the divine never leads with fear. Heaven doesn't manipulate, it illuminates. The voice you're hearing today, gentle, grounded, glowing with wisdom, that's not your imagination. That's your alignment speaking. You're not chasing light anymore. You're becoming it. And this grace, it's not the kind that barely helps you cope. It's the kind that wraps around you like an atmosphere. The kind that says, you don't have to carry that anymore. Because you don't. Don't be alarmed if something is unveiled to you today. Something subtle yet seismic. A realization, a memory seen from a higher vantage point. A hidden thread that connects what once felt random. Today is calibrated for revelation, not just externally, but internally. What it shows you won't reopen old wounds, it will heal them. What it uncovers won't stir regret, it will anchor your peace. Suddenly, you may understand why the delay had to happen, why that door had to close, why that person had to walk away. You may look back at the tangled roots of your past and, without bitterness, see that they were forming the foundation of something stronger. Could it be that what once felt like loss was actually spiritual landscaping? That divine hands were pruning, not punishing. This is not just another day, it's a day of spiritual convergence, where heaven overlays revelation onto your timeline like an architect placing translucent blueprints over the foundation. That's why things are starting to make sense. Not because they've changed, but because you have. You've shifted vibrationally, you've risen in frequency, and now your spirit is aligned with wisdom you couldn't access in survival mode. The Apostle Paul once said in 1 Corinthians 13:12, "For now we see only a reflection as in a mirror, then we shall see face to face." Today you are catching a glimpse of that reflection. You are seeing the divine design embedded in moments you thought were meaningless. The fog is not just lifting, it's being replaced by light. Someone from your past may reach out today, not as a test, but as a timestamp. Not to tempt you backward, but to confirm how far you've come. And whether they come with apology or silence, your spirit will no longer need closure. Why? Because you've already outgrown the wound. Oprah Winfrey, one of the most influential media voices of our generation, once said, "Turn your wounds into wisdom." That's not just a motivational quote, it's a map. She was once told she wasn't fit for television, yet she transformed rejection into resonance. Her platform wasn't just built on charisma, it was born in clarity. That's what's being offered to you today, clarity that makes sense of what once made you ache. But not everyone uses revelation for restoration. Jim Jones, once a charismatic spiritual leader, claimed to offer enlightenment, but beneath the surface he distorted clarity into control. His path ended in tragedy, not truth. Why? Because insight without humility breeds delusion, but you, chosen one, are being offered insight in purity, not to manipulate but to mature. That's the difference. Across town, a woman named Ariella found an old journal. It had been tucked away during her most difficult years. As she flipped through the tear-stained pages, she realized the same prayers she once scribbled in desperation were now her daily reality. Not because she forced the outcome, but because she endured long enough to become the version of herself that could receive them. That's what today is doing, holding a mirror up to your soul. But this mirror doesn't distort. It reflects joy, the kind that has been forming quietly in your spirit, like fruit ripening on a hidden branch. You may not have noticed the growth until now, but it's been happening all along. Look around. The trees don't apologize for blooming. The ocean doesn't minimize its waves. The sky doesn't explain its color shifts at dusk. And neither should you explain the joy that's rising in you today. It's real, it's sacred, and it doesn't need justification. This isn't surface-level euphoria. This is neurochemical rebalancing, the lifting of long-standing cortisol weights, the rekindling of serotonin, the emergence of endorphins aligned with spiritual freedom. This is what psychologists might call post-traumatic growth. But in the language of the spirit, it's called divine joy. It exists not because everything's perfect, but because you are present. You've arrived at a peaceful place, not through shortcuts, but through sacred process. Not because you escaped the fire, but because you walked through it without letting it consume your essence. That matters. Your survival wasn't passive. It was prophetic. Your staying kind wasn't weakness. It was divine strength. Heaven has seen your resilience, and today is not a reward, it's a reflection. A clear, brilliant mirror that says, you are still standing, and that is sacred. You chose love when bitterness begged for attention. You chose belief when logic shouted doubt. You kept your heart open even when reality tried to close it. That's why this day is yours. Because you are the one who stayed when others fled. You are the one who held on when hope felt like a whisper. Today is not about proving anything to anyone. It's about realizing what's always been true about you. You were chosen. And that still matters. It always will. So let the joy rise. Let it reach every cell. Let it become part of your gait, your gaze, your tone. This is not just a beautiful moment, it is a becoming. June 29th is not simply a day, it's a divine response, a return on the invisible energy you've been pouring out in secret. Every whispered prayer, every tear you wiped alone, every moment you chose peace over panic, it was all vibration. And now the universe, operating on the laws of spiritual resonance, is returning what you've released, multiplied and refined. What you once released in sorrow is returning in wholeness. What left your hands with trembling is now being returned with stability. And it's not just energy, it's evidence. So walk gently but boldly today. Not with fanfare, but with frequency. Let the shift be felt before it's explained. You don't have to announce your breakthrough. Let your alignment speak for you. Let it echo in your gaze. Let it resonate in your presence. Let the way you laugh today, freely, unapologetically, be the sound that confirms your healing. You are not who you were yesterday, and even if your words stay quiet, your frequency has already gone ahead of you. You are beginning to emit what physicists call constructive interference, where frequencies align and amplify each other. The energy you now carry is harmonizing with divine timing. That's why doors aren't just opening, they're magnetizing toward your presence. You don't have to chase. You're becoming a gravitational center for the very things you once begged for. King David once wrote in Psalm 18:19, "He brought me out into a spacious place. He rescued me because he delighted in me." This day is your spacious place. You're no longer operating from contraction. Today expands you. And in that expansion, the breath returns. Not shallow survival breathing, but deep, regulated release. Spiritual oxygen is flowing into your soul. Do you feel it? That softness surrounding you isn't weakness, it's divine sensitivity. You're tuned now, not to the chaos of the past, but to the clarity of heaven. And in this atmosphere, even the most subtle details become signs. A bird lingering near your window, a phrase in a conversation, a name you keep hearing. These are not coincidences. They are breadcrumbs of grace laid out to remind you, you are not lost, you are found. And today, you are walking a map that was written in glory before time began. Fred Rogers, educator, minister, and gentle world changer, once said, "The greatest gift you ever give is your honest self." He built a movement on tenderness, teaching a generation that softness is strength. His legacy is your lesson. Kindness, when held consistently, becomes a vibration that outlives storms. That's the vibration you're carrying today. That's the gentle power people are feeling when they come near you. But history has its counterweights. Charles Ponzi, the infamous swindler behind the Ponzi scheme, manipulated trust and frequency for personal gain. His empire seemed effortless, but it wasn't true alignment. It collapsed because it wasn't rooted in truth. Let his downfall remind you, energy without integrity eventually eats itself. You, chosen one, are different. You are not manipulating momentum, you are embodying it. Meanwhile, a man named Malik stood on the rooftop of his apartment this morning, watching the sun rise with no agenda, just presence. After years of striving for validation, today he felt peace for no reason. And in that stillness, a new idea arrived. One he had long been waiting for, but could never force. That's what today is, an invitation to rest into receptivity. Have you noticed how your body feels today? The subtle opening in your chest, the unexpected smile that keeps returning to your lips. That's not emotion alone. It's nervous system regulation. It's divine clarity entering your bloodstream. When heaven recalibrates you, even your biology testifies. The deer doesn't need to roar to show power. It simply stands still and senses everything. You, too, are sensing things others miss. You are catching glimpses of unseen realities, translating invisible patterns, attuning to divine architecture, not because you tried to, but because you're ready. John 10:27 says, "My sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me." Today, that voice may not shout, but it will whisper directly to your core, and you will recognize it, not with your ears, but with your peace. This is not the season of force. It is the season of frequency. Not about being louder, but clearer. You are no longer performing for peace. You are partnering with it. June 29th is not asking you to prove anything. It's asking you to receive, to breathe, to simply exist without effort. Because sometimes the most seismic shifts come wrapped in sacred stillness. No trumpet, no thunder, just a steady knowing that something inside you is different now. And because of that, everything around you will begin to reflect it. This is the divine reset you didn't even know you needed. It's tuning your soul to joy, not hype, love, not fear, clarity, not striving, and most of all, it's calibrating your entire being to the ease you were always destined to walk in. You don't have to wait months to feel this. It's here. You're not preparing anymore. You're stepping in. What's so beautiful about today is how naturally it returns you to yourself. Not the self the world required you to become, but the self heaven always saw. No ego, just essence, no noise, just knowing. This is your mirror moment, your confirmation frequency, your love letter written in the particles of time. And it's addressed to you. You're not chasing a version of yourself anymore. You're reconnecting with your original essence. You're not searching for permission to exist. You're remembering that your presence was always part of the divine equation. But why does this day feel like such a turning point? Why does your soul seem to whisper truths your mind can barely keep up with? Because June 29th is not just a blessing, it's a remembrance. You are no longer scavenging for self-worth in broken systems. Today is recalibrating your internal compass back to its true north. Have you wondered why everything seems clearer today? Why the fog that lingered for months suddenly feels like it's lifting? It's not coincidence, it's alignment, and it's rooted in something deeper than logic. Scripture speaks in Isaiah 58:8. Then your light will break forth like the dawn, and your healing will quickly appear. That's what's happening now. Your healing isn't crawling toward you. It's erupting from within you. You are not broken seeking repair. You are whole, rediscovering the evidence. You're remembering how many fires you walked through without the smoke staining your soul. You're remembering how often you gave compassion, not because others deserved it, but because you refused to let bitterness govern your identity. And now, that identity is shining through without needing explanation. Have you ever seen the glass-winged butterfly? Its wings are completely transparent, nearly invisible, and yet it survives predators not by defense, but by the clarity of its design. That's you today, unassuming but unshakable. Visible only to those who see with spirit, not just with eyes. Not everyone will understand this new version of you, and they don't have to. What's shifting now isn't for mass consumption, it's for personal confirmation. When the prophet Samuel anointed David in 1 Samuel 16, no one expected the overlooked shepherd boy to carry such oil, but heaven did. David wasn't chosen because he looked the part, but because his heart was already in harmony with divine intention. And so are you. You might meet someone today, a stranger, a cashier, a child on the street who says something seemingly random, but it hits your spirit with piercing resonance. You might find yourself asking, why does that moment feel sacred? Why does that sentence echo deeper than its words? Because your awareness has shifted. Your frequency is elevated. You're tuned now, not to chaos, but to clarity. Nobel Prize-winning author Toni Morrison once said, "You are your best thing." She was right. You don't need to outperform pain. You simply need to return to truth. That truth is now flowing through every layer of your day, like water finding the lowest, most honest place in your soul. But not all choices to forget one's true self end in healing. Pablo Escobar, once one of the most powerful men on earth, had wealth, armies, and influence. But his empire was built on fear and illusion. He forgot the boy he once was. And in abandoning his inner compass, he authored his own downfall. Let his story remind you, power without rootedness is self-destruction. Across the country, a man named Deshawn sits alone at a train station with a torn backpack and a dream he almost gave up on. A woman he doesn't know walks past and offers him half of her sandwich and a sentence: "Don't quit before it gets real." That one sentence triggers a flood of tears. He doesn't know her name, but he knows something divine just touched him. This is the kind of day you've entered. Even the soil understands restoration. After a forest is scorched by fire, mycologists tell us that new fungi begin to form underground. Networks that weren't visible before, now activated by heat. Those networks nurture future life. That's what June 29th is doing in you, activating what the heat of past trials made possible. You're not just resting emotionally, you're resetting neurologically. Your prefrontal cortex, responsible for long-term vision and emotional regulation, is finally unhindered by survival mode. Your vagus nerve is activating calm rather than defense. This isn't theoretical, it's biological evidence of spiritual change. And now the outer world will begin reflecting your internal stability. You may receive news today, an invitation, a breakthrough, a financial shift. Or maybe it's something quieter, a friend reaching out, a new creative idea landing in your spirit, a moment of connection with a parent you thought had drifted away. Will you recognize it? Will you respond with your heart, not just your habits? Because what's happening now is not hype, it's holiness. Don't be surprised if your smile feels softer, your steps more grounded. This is spiritual safety entering your nervous system. You are no longer shielding yourself from life. You are participating in it. This is not the kind of transformation that requires applause. It only asks for your presence. So why do your thoughts feel clearer? Why does the air itself feel like it's making room for you? Because it is. This is the reward, not for your perfection, but for your persistence. This is the echo of heaven saying, "I saw what others ignored, and now the gates are opening." Not because you forced them, but because you finally arrived as your truest self. Time isn't behaving the way it normally does, is it? It feels looser around the edges, more like silk than stone. It's not pressing on your shoulders or dragging at your heels. Instead, it's moving with you, as if the universe has adjusted its metronome to the beat of your inner restoration. Could it be that even time recognizes your readiness? Today, the minutes are bending toward your destiny, not rushing you or resisting you. This is the evidence of divine rhythm. When your inner alignment is so strong, it creates outer cooperation. Spiritual flow doesn't just feel good, it rearranges reality. So why are tasks that used to feel tangled now unfolding smoothly? Why do your thoughts seem to click into place without force? Because you're no longer operating within Chronos time alone, the measured ticking of the human clock. You've stepped into Kairos time, the opportune God-ordained moment where everything aligns for a purpose higher than logic. You're not just in a schedule, you're in a sacred sequence. This is what it feels like when heaven and earth agree. Zechariah 10:1 says, "Ask the Lord for rain in the season of the latter rain. The Lord will make flashing clouds. He will give them showers of rain." Today, your season and your prayer have synchronized. The soil is ready, the clouds are ripe. You're not just asking for miracles anymore. You're aligned with them. So speak again, declare again, dream again, not from the wound, but from the healed part of you that remembers you were always destined to flourish. Let your imagination become a sacred altar where possibility and permission meet. Why have you been afraid to speak boldly before? Why did you feel guilty for desiring more than just survival? Today breaks those contracts of limitation. Your declarations are no longer hitting a void. They're vibrating in resonance with divine response. Vision work today isn't fantasy, it's prophecy. Your words aren't empty, they're encoded with frequency. They're calling things into form. And as you begin to affirm joy, not as a wish but as your inheritance, watch how the world mirrors it back. Watch how strangers smile without reason, how the weather seems to bless you, how you hear the exact words you needed in unexpected places. There's a woman named Priya lighting a candle in her apartment right now. She's never spoken her dreams out loud, not even to herself. But today, something compels her. She whispers her vision into the silence, not sure if anyone hears. 2 hours later, she gets an email from someone she'd forgotten about, offering her the very opportunity she just dared to describe. That's not coincidence. That's convergence. Even the cosmos participates in spiritual flow. Physicists describe time dilation, how time slows near a gravitational pull. Spiritually, it works the same. When your heart is fully anchored in God's gravitational field, life stops rushing. You become the center of stillness, and time adjusts to your peace. But this isn't a moment to take lightly. What would happen if you stopped expecting disappointment? What would shift if you stopped rehearsing what could go wrong and finally believed in what could go right? Ralph Waldo Emerson once said, "Once you make a decision, the universe conspires to make it happen." But today, the decision isn't just intellectual, it's spiritual, and it's already made. You've said yes to joy. You've said yes to peace. And now peace is saying yes back. Not everyone made that choice. Take Anna Delvey, the con artist who tricked New York's elite into believing she was a German heiress. Her life was built on curated illusion, on fantasy without spiritual foundation. And though she moved with boldness, she lacked integrity. Her timing wasn't divine, it was deceptive. Her collapse was inevitable. Let her story remind you, false alignment creates noise, not flow. You, chosen one, are no longer performing for provision. You are magnetizing it. Today is not just about receiving, it's about returning to your original design. Can you allow that kind of goodness in? Even trees understand timing. The bamboo tree, after being planted, shows no visible growth for years, but underground, it's building an intricate root system. Then suddenly, within weeks, it shoots up feet into the air. You are in that shooting season now. What felt invisible is about to emerge. You are not being teased with temporary relief. This is not some emotional high that fades with the evening. This is your new spiritual atmosphere, finally catching up to your true identity. Today, even your parasympathetic nervous system responds differently. You're no longer on edge. Your breath feels fuller, your shoulders are lower, your heart rate slows, not from fatigue, but from peace. These are measurable signs of divine regulation. Science is only just catching up with what the Spirit has always known. So don't resist the joy that finds you. Don't analyze the kindness that approaches. Don't question the clarity that feels too easy. You are not being tricked. You are being trusted. Psalm 84:11 says, "No good thing will he withhold from those who walk uprightly." And this is what today is saying to you. Good is not delayed, it's delivered. Let the peace in your chest become permission in your decisions. Let the rest you feel become the ground you build upon. Let this be the day you remember. Feeling good is not dangerous, it's divine. You were formed for joy. You were crafted for glory. You were written for peace. And now, June 29th has arrived, not to impress you, but to embrace you. The time you're living in isn't just sacred, it's finally synchronized. Chosen one, this is not just another day. It's a divine confirmation, written with precision into the DNA of time itself. You're not merely being comforted, you're being calibrated. June 29th isn't here to excite you, it's here to align you. Have you noticed how today feels slower, yet more purposeful? Why does it seem like the air is thicker with meaning? Could it be that time itself is responding to your healing, slowing down to witness your internal shift? You're not grasping in the dark anymore. You're being guided by light. This isn't the adrenaline of chasing alignment, it's the quiet confidence of living in it. And when this settles into your nervous system, your soul stops scanning for danger. You breathe deeper, you walk lighter, you speak slower. Not from weariness, but from spiritual security. Isaiah 30:21 says, "Whether you turn to the right or to the left, your ears will hear a voice behind you saying, 'This is the way, walk in it.'" That's the clarity that's enveloping you now. You're not guessing, you're listening, you're not reaching, you're receiving. The power of this moment is not in its volume, but in its stillness. Isn't it strange how peace is no longer something you search for, but something that meets you first? This is divine timing functioning at full velocity, not rushed, not delayed. You're in the gravitational field of God's intention now, where alignment becomes effortless and the future begins flowing into the present. And the proof is in your own energy. You're no longer moved by fear, you're moved by knowing. But can you receive what's being revealed without resistance? Can you hold joy without guilt? Can you allow clarity to be enough without needing chaos to confirm it? You're not just in emotional stability, you've stepped into emotional sovereignty. That's what happens when your soul is kissed by clarity. Your compass is no longer spinning, it's pointing. And where it leads is peace. A few years ago, a woman named Mireille stood in front of a courthouse, papers in hand, heart bruised by betrayal. That day, she didn't win the battle, but today she wakes up in her new home, surrounded by light, and realizes, "I didn't lose. I graduated." The outcome didn't have to change. She did. And that shift was the victory. Even nature understands this. The Arctic poppy, buried under snow for 8 months of the year, blooms in a single week of light, not because it rushed, but because its design was never about urgency. You, too, are blooming, not on man's timeline, but heaven's. But not everyone chooses clarity. Jordan Belfort, once known as the Wolf of Wall Street, rose to global notoriety as a charismatic stockbroker who manipulated financial markets and defrauded countless investors. He built an empire on adrenaline, deception, and unchecked indulgence. For a while, everything looked effortless. Money flowed, influence expanded, status soared. But beneath the glitter was rot. His collapse came not through accident, but inevitability. Legal prosecution followed. He lost his firm, his fortune, and his freedom. What seemed like success was actually an unsustainable illusion. His downfall was a direct result of alignment without integrity, ambition without anchoring. Let his story remind you, when timing is hijacked by ego, it may still look powerful, but it leads to ruin. You, chosen one, are choosing the opposite path, a path where peace, not performance, is the compass. That is why your breakthrough will last. And to affirm the beauty of this slower, spiritually synchronized life, consider Ava DuVernay, the acclaimed filmmaker and activist who became the first black woman to direct a film nominated for Best Picture at the Oscars. But her path didn't begin in film school. She started in journalism and PR, not picking up a camera until she was 32. Ava didn't rush timing. She trusted it. While others sprinted toward early success, she moved inward, rooted, deliberate. And because of that, her art carries weight. Her work moves nations, not through noise but through alignment. Her legacy proves that when you're in sync with divine timing, what you build carries not just your name, but heaven's fingerprint. Psalm 112:7 says, "They will have no fear of bad news. Their hearts are steadfast, trusting in the Lord." That's what today is producing in you, not just joy but steadfastness, not just serenity but spiritual stamina. And you don't have to earn this. Isn't that the most radical truth? That you don't need to hustle for what's already yours? That your worth isn't contingent, it's coded? Why does everything feel a little clearer now? Why do even your relationships seem to breathe easier today? Why is the path ahead not blinding, but gently illuminated? Because something has clicked inside. You've stopped performing for peace. You've started partnering with it. And peace, unlike applause, doesn't require audience. It requires presence. You're not shrinking anymore when others misunderstand you. You're not lowering your frequency to make people comfortable. You're no longer editing your worth to fit their perception. You've realized it. Your value is not up for debate. It's divine. The real shift today isn't about solving problems. It's about seeing them differently. And when your energy no longer flows from panic, but from presence, even obstacles begin to soften. Joy isn't something you chase anymore. It's what rises when you breathe without bracing. It's in the way you smile mid-thought, the way a sentence in a conversation makes your soul exhale, the way a memory surfaces, not to haunt, but to heal. That's the miracle of divine rhythm. It changes your experience without needing to change your environment. And the world will follow. Soon, what's been happening invisibly will begin to unfold tangibly. In your home, in your money, in your opportunities, in how people treat you, in the ease with which doors open and answers arrive. And none of it will feel like force, because you'll recognize it. This is what stillness births. This is the reward of spiritual maturity, not just the outcome, but the inner environment that births it. Today isn't a footnote, it's a shift. Chosen one, something sacred is unfolding right now, and you are not chasing it, you're welcoming it. Today you are no longer operating from survival instincts. You're moving in divine flow, a state of alignment so powerful it bends reality without requiring force. Can you feel the difference? You're not waiting for someone to validate your worth. You're not replaying yesterday's fears like a looping broadcast. You're not shrinking to fit into outdated rooms. You're expanding, radiating certainty, rootedness, presence, and the atmosphere around you is shifting in response. Why? Because spiritual truth always affects physical space. Why does it seem like people look at you differently today, even if they don't know your story? Why do conversations feel warmer, more resonant, more real? Because your energetic signature has changed. And energy, unlike words, doesn't lie. Exodus 33:14 says, "My presence will go with you, and I will give you rest." That presence isn't hovering above you, it's flowing through you now. You are not being dragged toward destiny, you are being carried. You're not trying to impress grace, you are embodying it. Take a moment, let yourself feel proud, not boastful, but deeply grounded in what you've overcome. The healing no one applauded, the boundaries no one noticed, the growth that happened in silence, in rooms where you stood alone. That sacred becoming, it's real, and today it's visible. You've outgrown cycles that once caged you. You've shed emotional weights that once defined you. You've detached from people, patterns and postures that no longer matched your light. So why are you still waiting for permission to celebrate? Why hesitate to acknowledge your own transformation? Even the smallest seed doesn't apologize when it becomes a tree. Today is not your finish line. It's your unveiling. Alicia Keys, global artist and soul-centered activist, once said, "I've learned I don't have to be anything other than myself." After years of shaping her image to meet industry standards, she stripped it all back, literally and spiritually. and reclaimed her voice. Her shift wasn't loud, but it was liberating. Her music became more than sound. It became atmosphere. That's the frequency you're stepping into now, where you are the message, not just the messenger. But not everyone honors authentic frequency. Billy McFarland, creator of the infamous Fire Festival, mastered the illusion of momentum. He sold dreams built on deception, curating a lifestyle through smoke and mirrors. And when the show collapsed, so did his credibility. His downfall was not sudden. It was the inevitable result of forcing a narrative disconnected from truth. Let that remind you. Chosen one, what you're walking in today isn't hype, it's holy. Meanwhile, halfway across the world, a woman named Maren stands barefoot in her backyard. She opens a letter she wrote to herself 5 years ago. "Don't give up when it starts getting quiet," the letter says. She had forgotten she wrote it, but today, under a quiet sky, it feels like prophecy. That's what divine flow does. It connects past intention to present peace. Even nature understands this pace. The sea turtle, one of the slowest travelers on Earth, navigates across oceans guided only by the Earth's magnetic field. No maps, no speed, just instinct and timing, and they always return home. You too are guided by something deeper than logic, and you are being drawn, not driven, back into alignment. So what if you stopped fighting for what already belongs to you? What if you stopped fixing what's already falling away for a reason? What if you simply trusted that what is leaving is making space for what is true? 2. Timothy 1:7 reminds us, "For God gave us a spirit not of fear, but of power and love and a sound mind." That soundness isn't just mental, it's emotional, spiritual, cellular. Even your autonomic nervous system is responding today. You're no longer flinching. You're no longer doubting every moment of joy. You're beginning to believe that ease is allowed. You're not here to perform. You're here to receive. This moment was tailor-made for you, not to prove yourself, but to return to yourself. Why does this feel so different than before? Why does your body seem lighter, your spirit more at home in your own chest? Because the striving has stopped and the flow has begun. Let today remind the part of you that thought love had to be earned, that thought ease was dangerous, that thought joy was suspicious, that those beliefs are outdated software. You've received a spiritual upgrade. And now, life itself is responding. You'll see it in the way people listen to you, in the way solutions arrive without struggle, in how synchronicities begin stacking one after another like holy breadcrumbs. And no, you're not imagining it. It's real, it's aligned, it's yours. Chosen one, don't miss the miracle of right now because you're waiting for fireworks. Today is quiet power, invisible glory, subtle transformation, and it's not ending, it's only just beginning. There's a kind of quiet rising inside you today, chosen one. It doesn't rush in with fireworks, it hums gently through your presence. It doesn't beg to be seen, it simply shifts the air around you. Can you feel it? That subtle awareness that something is shifting, not out there, but in here. That's not your imagination, that's momentum. Sacred, silent, sovereign momentum. You are being carried, not pushed, into a season that feels natural because it is. This isn't ambition disguised as purpose. This is divine flow revealing who you've always been. There's no noise in this movement, only clarity, only rootedness, only light. Zechariah 4:6 says, "Not by might nor by power, but by my Spirit, says the Lord Almighty." That's what today is wrapped in. Movement not powered by performance, but by presence. Why does it feel like the weight you've carried for years is dissolving, even without resolution? Because spiritual weight is released not through external change, but internal awakening. June 29th is not just a day on the calendar. It's a resonant recalibration of your soul with heaven's original blueprint for your life. It's the day you stop trying to become something and start remembering that you already are. That your worth is not something to prove, but something to recognize. You're not asking the world to notice you anymore. You're noticing yourself. You're no longer waiting for permission to move. You are already in motion, anchored in peace. Doors are opening not because you're forcing them, but because your frequency matches what they're meant to carry. Why are people responding to your silence with more respect than they ever did to your shouting? Because your energy has shifted. You're not reacting anymore. You're radiating. Look at the mangrove tree. It grows where most trees can't, rooted in salt water, rising in the in-between. Its roots don't fight the tide. They stabilize because of it. That's what's happening to you. You're growing in a place you thought might destroy you, and now, instead of bracing, you're blooming. There's a woman named Simone who walks into her art studio today after months of avoiding it. She doesn't pick up a brush. She just stands there and breathes, and something clicks, not in her mind, but in her spirit. She realizes, I don't need a reason to begin again. I just need to begin. And from that stillness, creativity floods in. That's divine momentum. It doesn't shout, it stirs. Are you ready to believe that your very stillness can be magnetic, that your rest can open more doors than your rushing ever did? Philippians 1:6 declares, He who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion. This isn't the climax of your story. It's the alignment point, the place where you stop questioning your foundation and begin building upon it with confidence. Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, the acclaimed Nigerian author, didn't explode onto the literary scene in a blaze of marketing. Her voice was calm, her writing exact, her purpose intentional. She didn't demand space, she expanded it. Her clarity didn't come from volume, but vision. And now her influence reaches beyond nations into the very architecture of how truth is spoken. That's what your presence is becoming, an atmosphere, not an argument. But not all momentum is sacred. Adam Neumann, the former CEO of WeWork, was once seen as a visionary leader revolutionizing office culture. But behind the charisma was unchecked ego, blurred ethics, and financial overreach. His empire, inflated on hype and personality, eventually collapsed under scrutiny. What looked like confidence was actually control. What sounded like vision was often self-glorification. And the fallout wasn't just financial, it shattered trust across an entire industry. His downfall reveals this truth. When energy is manipulated rather than embodied, disintegration is inevitable. Chosen one, today is your contrast. You're no longer crafting the appearance of alignment, you're living in it. And the evidence is peace, not the absence of noise, but the presence of clarity. So ask yourself, what if today is not about effort, but about allowance? What if real power is not proven, but remembered? What you're experiencing now is not temporary optimism. It's spiritual grounding, the kind that rewires your nervous system. You're no longer cycling through hypervigilance, you're entering coherence. Even quantum physics tells us particles behave differently when observed. Your life is beginning to shift simply because you are seeing it rightly, because you're not trying to escape your reality, you're inhabiting it with peace. You've held steady through storms, not because you had a script, but because your soul knew. What's rooted in the spirit can't be shaken by circumstance. Why does the air feel kinder today? Why does your breath feel like prophecy instead of pressure? Because this is not just a good moment. It's a holy one, and it doesn't end here. This is the kind of day that doesn't announce itself with explosions, but with anchoring. It's the kind of shift that doesn't make headlines, but rewrites your headlines. You're not waiting for the light anymore. You are the light. And so, chosen one, as June 29th draws to a close, take this moment not just as the end of a day, but as the beginning of a different kind of life. What happened within you today wasn't just a feeling. It was a shift, a sacred alignment, a restoration of everything the world tried to convince you was lost for good. That soft peace in your chest, that silent knowing in your spirit, that's not just emotional residue, that's evidence. Heaven has touched you, not with noise, not with spectacle, but with an unshakable calm that whispers, you've entered the blessing. You didn't force this day to be powerful, it came that way. You didn't earn this rest through striving, it was gifted. And now, as the day settles over you like a divine covering, let your soul agree with this truth. The blessing has already begun. Even if you can't fully see it, feel it, or name it, trust that it's taking root. Heaven's timelines don't always show up in headlines. Sometimes they show up as tears finally drying, as laughter returning to your chest, as clarity where there was once chaos. And today, that's exactly what you've received. So breathe it in. Let this holy shift mark your spirit. Let it become the baseline of how you move forward from here. You are no longer walking toward the promise. You are walking in it. With every step, miracles are unfolding. With every breath, alignment is being reinforced. You don't need to prove anything. You don't need to fight for what's already yours. All you need to do now is walk it out. And if this message found you in a moment where you needed confirmation, I want you to comment 777 right now. Not just as a number, but as a declaration. I receive this day as sacred. I walk in its blessing. I will never return to who I was before it. That comment isn't for the algorithm. It's for your agreement, for your anchoring, for your breakthrough. If this word resonated, if it restored something within you, if it gave you hope again, share it. Send it to the one who's still waiting for their sign. Be their confirmation. And if you're not already, subscribe to this channel. There is more to come. The journey we're on together isn't over. It's only just beginning. So stay connected, stay alert, and stay expectant. To every soul who has supported this channel, whether quietly watching, actively sharing, or sowing into this space through super thanks, I thank you with all my heart. Your presence, your encouragement, your faith, it means more than you know. And whether you've given or simply received, I speak this over you now. May peace rest in your home. May clarity rise in your mind. May joy return to your body. May purpose stir in your spirit. And may the blessing of June 29th multiply in ways that leave you in awe. This is not the end. This is the unlocking. And you, chosen one, have just stepped through the door.